Santa Cruz.
Here.
Mr. Cunningham.
Here.
Mixulik. Mrs. Lee.
Absent excuse.
Mr. Fimbres.
Here.
Mr. Kozaczyk.
Here.
Mayor Romero.
Here. And Ms. Ulick is with us, but we can't hear her. So hopefully she can join us by phone soon. Alrighty. So before we start with item 2, Mr. Clerk and Mr. Manager, Mr. City Attorney, I'd like to explain the item that we have here tonight and have a little bit of an explanation before we move into executive session. This item tonight is relating to TEP's proposed transmission line project. It's scheduled for an executive session as well as a public discussion. We will also give direction from the mayor and council to the city manager and the city attorney. I'm going to start this evening by asking city staff and the city attorney to introduce this item in public session and then provide us some basic information and visuals about the TEP proposal. They will also describe the upcoming proceedings that are now scheduled with the line siting committee. After that, we will go into executive session for legal advice on the issues relating to this project. Then, after we are finished with executive session, we will come back into the public session for additional discussion and to give direction to the city manager and city attorney regarding the actions that should be taken to protect the interests of the city and, most importantly, our residents as this process moves forward. So with that, I'd like to invite the city attorney and the city manager to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor. And first of all, thank you all for scheduling and participating in this special meeting. As you were able to understand from the Mayor and Council communication, we're now under a timeline that required us to get in front of you and get some feedback and input from the Mayor and Council so that the city manager and I know how to best proceed based on your direction as the governing body. As the mayor just described, and as is described in the Mayor and Council communication, the line siting committee has now, in fact, scheduled the commencement of the public hearings that will be held to evaluate TEP's proposed routes, proposed alignment in connection with its application for the CEC, the Certificate of Environmental Compatibility, that would authorize the Keno to Damas Petrie 138 kilovolt transmission line project. The hearings are going to begin on September 13th. They will be conducted here locally at the Doubletree on Alvernon. It is expected that there will be several sessions of public hearings, possibly over the next couple of weeks. As you know from the materials and just from following this issue as it has progressed over the years, while TEP has at times described, I think, 7 different possible routes, the committee, in fact, required TEP to give notice by today in terms of which routes they were actually seeking approval for through the committee and then ultimately the ACC process. TEP did respond today and identified Route 5A as TEP's preferred route. This is a route that only recently resurfaced. It had previously been identified as a possible alternate route, but is now being identified by TEP as the preferred route. TEP has also informed the committee that Route 1B is identified as a proposed alternate route for which they are also seeking approval. But in connection with that request, TEP is indicating that that would request is only if subject to TEP getting relief from the city's regulatory provisions that require that route, or the vast bulk of that route, to be undergrounded, because the full stretch of that alignment from 36 north up to Grant is zoned as a gateway corridor zone and designated as such under our major streets and routes plan. We do have some visuals, and given the notice that has gone out today, we're just going to focus for now in the visuals on 5A and 1B, so you can orient yourself to what those routes are. So Sam, if you could throw up 5A to begin with, since it's now identified as the preferred route. So there you can see the visual of the proposed 5A, of course, starting at the southern end with the Keno substation, proceeding north all the way up to up and around the university area over to Grant. And Sam, let's go ahead and take a look at 1B. Which until recently was identified by TEP as the preferred route, but now is the notice indicates that this is TEP's alternate route. And again, you see the route here a little different in that it doesn't jog over to South Campbell, but instead goes up the Keno up to Campbell, then through the Jefferson Park area, and then up to Grant and off to the west. So those are the two routes now that are being presented to the committee starting September 13th for their evaluation through the public hearing process. So now where are we at? Where are we in the process? First, we're in the position of needing to decide if and how the city is going to participate in the public hearing process and the overall CEC process going forward. In particular, we need to decide, and we have to give notice to the committee not later than Friday if it is the city's intent to intervene as a party. After that, if we are in fact going to participate as a party, the manager, staff, and I need some direction from the mayor and council about how we're going to represent the city's interests in the proceedings going forward. So this special meeting gives the mayor and council the opportunity to provide that direction to the city manager and to me and to staff. And to that end, we have an executive session scheduled, as the mayor just explained, so that we can discuss the legal implications of the current proposals and the issues that relate to them, as well as any issues relating to potential litigation or steps that could be taken to avoid or resolve matters so that we don't head down that path. Following the executive session, as the mayor indicated, we'll come back out into the public session. The mayor and council can have further discussion, give the direction as you see fit, and then we will move forward from there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rankin. I am going to go ahead and ask the city clerk to read item 2.
Your Honor, the executive session is noticed as item 2, executive session, Arizona Power Plant and Transmission Line Sitting Committee docket number L00000C210288-00192, Keno to DeMoss Petrie Transmission Line Project.
City Manager's communication number 267, dated September 1st, is received into and made part of the record. Mr. Clerk, you are requested to read the executive session notice.
That was the executive session notice, Your Honor.
Hello. Thank you. So we need a motion to go into executive session.
The move.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Your Honor, I have a question. I have
Sure.
a question.
Go ahead, Mr.
So,
Cunningham.
some of the stuff that I'm going to say in executive session, I want to say out loud. And we're not allowed to talk about what we're going to talk about in an executive session. So I've kind of got some concerns about that, because I think it's important that, in other words, I know what I want to say out loud, and I know what we need to discuss as from the legal strategy side, but I don't want them to overlap, and I don't want to be in any situation even near violating the executive session piece. So that's kind of the thing. And Mike, just kind of fill us in on how that works. Is there some latitude available here? I mean, come on.
Councilmember Cunningham and Honorable Mayor and Council, yeah, we'll be able to work that out. The things that I certainly expect not just you, but others to have things that they're going to want to say in the public session, and we've scheduled this in a way to allow that. What we will not do is refer to matters that we discuss in executive session or confirm whether we did or didn't discuss an executive session, but you're going to have the ability, I'm confident, to say what you feel you need to say in the public session.
Alrighty.
10-4.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilmember Cunningham. So with that, we voted to go into executive session. What we have to do is jump off of this Teams meeting and go to our scheduled executive session Teams meeting. So we will see you all on the other side. And while we have the public wait on this side of the meeting. So I'll see you in a sec. Any opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Clerk, we move on to item 3.
Your Honor, item 3 is the mayor and council direction regarding the executive session, including direction and intervening in the committee proceedings related to the Arizona Power Plant transmission line sitting docket.
So city manager's communication number 268 dated September 1st is received into and made part of the record. What is the council's pleasure on item 3?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Councilmember Fimbres?
with all these concerns we've heard in the following, I would like to make the following motion. I move that the mayor and council authorize and direct the city manager, city attorney, and staff as proceed to as discussed in executive session, and specifically as follows. The city will intervene as a party in the PCEC proceedings. The city's position is that TP's proposed Route 5A must be rejected as either a preferred route or an alternative route under the statutory criteria. That the committee and the ACC are bound to apply to the application. Reasons for the rejection of Route 5A include and are not limited to the following. The route is incompatible with existing plans for the city, including voter-approved projects under the Propositions 101, 407, and 409, and the city general plan. The route interference with the negative impact to previously funded neighborhood improvement projects, such as the South Campbell media improvements that benefit Las Vistas, Western Hills, Pueblo Gardens, and South Park neighborhoods, as well as projects in other neighborhoods in other wards. And the rejection of Route 5A 2 years ago followed the review of the community working groups through TP's own procedures. With respect to Route 1B, the city's proposition is that this route or any other proposed route or alternative route cannot be considered for approval unless TP complies with the city's requirements, including but not limited to the following undergrounding requirements as described as the mayor and council communication as further discussed in executive session, and that to the extent TP proposes to seek relief from any city requirements in connection with Route 1B or any other route, the city manager or city attorney can direct to address those routes to discuss in executive session. That's my motion.
All righty. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I will second that and I have some comments.
Okay. So there's a motion and a second. Go ahead, Councilmember Kafacek.
Okay, thanks. Just a minute. Zoom has a cough button. All right, I have a few comments to make, and thank you for the motion, and thank all the group for the time in exec. A few thoughts. First of all, we're making zoning decisions here tonight. This is not a corporation commission rate hearing, and what we're doing is we're protecting the integrity of our existing ordinances and telling TEP that it's not okay to assume that the city is zoned industrial from end to end. What we're also doing is upholding the law. We have ordinances in place, and they're in place for a reason. And we are preserving the aesthetics of our neighborhoods, our entire community, and there's an economic benefit to the entire region when we do that. TEP has said recently that we changed the conversation when I introduced the gateway ordinance. That's simply false. TEP has referenced the gateway ordinance in some of their own public comments, in some of their own public meetings. The gateway ordinance matters, and it says that utilities shall be undergrounded, but that's not the only one. We also have scenic routes, and the very same language exists in the scenic routes ordinances that we have in place. This is not a conversation simply about Campbell Keno and how we get over to Banner UMC. The gateways that we have in place right now include Valencia, Oracle, South Tucson Boulevard, Alvernon, Golf Links, Kolb. The scenic routes include Silverbell, Gorette, Ironwood Hills, West Speedway, Anklam, Mission, Tanque Verde, Houghton, Old Spanish Trail. I mean, they are the entire circumference of the city. We're talking about major corridors that we have affirmatively said we want them preserved and protected from an aesthetic standpoint. Months ago, TEP did an evaluation of all the route options, and they threw out 5A explicitly for lots of good reasons, and Richard just read off some of them. And now today, in a very transparent effort to divide the neighborhoods and to divide this council, they threw it back on the table as their preferred option. A while back, it was their least favorite option, and now tactically is to their benefit. So I fully support taking it back off the table. One of the problems that Richard didn't mention is that the 5A slices through the university area plan. Every single one of the options slices through the university area plan. And the university area plan has some pretty specific language as well. It says the university area plan calls wherever possible to place utility and service equipment underground. And so all of these plans that we have in place and the ordinances that we have in place come to the same conclusion, and that is that we want all utilities. And this isn't just a conversation about TEP ultimately. It's about preserving the integrity, the aesthetic integrity of our community, irrespective of what utility we're talking about. It just so happens that we're talking about the Gateway Corridor and TEP here tonight. Plan Tucson has some similar language about preserving the visual integrity of our neighborhoods. So TEP will have rate hearings going forward, and the cost of this project will be one small factor in their entire pitch to the Corporation Commission when they go in for a rate hearing. And we've seen estimates that indicate that undergrounding this entire corridor will cost about 20 cents per ratepayer if spread out over the entire community. I think more importantly than that is that undergrounding sends a message to TEP and all other utilities that going forward, future development in Tucson needs to respect the aesthetics of our community and respect the integrity and the investment that our neighbors have made in their property. So I totally support the motion and look forward to hearing from our city staff when they return to us with some responses from TEP in terms of how willing they are to come to the table, and recognize that for the first time in forever, the utility is not coming in saying, we're the utility, we're simply going to tell you what to do. Now we're in a conversation. And I think that's really important for everyone at the table to understand.
Thank you, Councilmember Kosacek. Any other of my colleagues would like to add to the discussion? Alrighty. I too concur with the motion, but I just want to make sure that we have clarity on the motion. Just want to make sure that I wrote some notes down while you were speaking, Councilmember Fimbres. The important points in terms of your motion are that the city will intervene as a party in the CEC proceedings, that the city's position is that Route 5A must be rejected as either the preferred or alternate route, that the city, whatever proposed preferred or alternate route cannot be considered for approval unless TEP complies with all city requirements, including but not limited undergrounding requirements as described in the mayor and council communication. And then that TEP, to the extent that TEP proposes to seek relief from city requirements in connection to Route 1B or any other route, that the city manager and city attorney are directed to address those issues as discussed in executive session. Am I correct?
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
Alrighty, just wanted to make sure. Just wanted to add that in order to have authentic and good partnerships with our private partners in our community, We have to make sure that we both, the public sector and the private sector, the city of Tucson and TEP, approach the conversation not just looking at the bottom line of what a project costs or not, but how that project is going to affect the many customers and ratepayers as well as residents in the area. That's the first thing that I like to see. How is this proposed project going to affect the residents and ratepayers in the area? And that in order to come to the best conclusion as a public sector and a private sector, we really do have to sit down. And as Steve said, not just have one party say this is what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And we don't, really want to sit down and negotiate, but that in order to have the best outcome to a project, we really do need to have authentic and transparent conversations with the community and between the city of Tucson and TEP. And I don't expect anything other than an authentic and transparent conversation with TEP. We can't get to the best approach without being honest with each other. And so with that, if there are no other hands up from my colleagues to continue the discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All righty. I think we've got a unanimous vote of the council. All righty. So that is item 3. We move on to item 4. Thank you, colleagues, for a good conversation. Mr. Clerk?
Item 4 is the city attorney's request for authority to join as a friend of the court in pending litigation challenging the Arizona legislature's unconstitutional adoption of budget reconciliation bills that unlawfully include provisions violating Arizona's single subject and budget appropriations requirements, challenging Senate Bill 1824 and House Bill 2893 and other unconstitutional budget reconciliation bills.
City Manager's communication number 269 dated September 1st is received into and made part of the record. What is the council's pleasure on item 4?
Madam Mayor, I move and support the motion that we join the brief. As friend of the court, Amicus Curiae, in pending litigation challenging the Arizona legislature's unconstitutional adoption of budget reconciliation bills and unlawfully include provisions violating Arizona's single subject and budget appropriations requirements challenging Senate Bills SP 1824 and House Bill 2893 and other unconstitutional BRB bills. That's my motion.
Thank you so much. Is there a second to your motion? Second, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? I do have some commentary on this friend of the court or amicus. That the city of Phoenix actually made a decision to take the state to court. Each of the laws that were approved during budgeting process in the state legislature were illegally bundled into the appropriations bill. I'm proud to stand with our school districts and with the city of Phoenix and challenging these unconstitutional acts. A couple of three primary issues. One, that the creation of a new ARS 36-681, which on its face prohibits a city from enacting a vaccine passport or requiring any person from receiving a COVID-19 vaccine, which is scheduled to take effect on September 29th. This law is in direct conflict with the guidance of both the Centers for Disease Control and the Arizona Department of Health Services. Our school district should not be punished for simply following the advice of our health experts. And I want to thank our school districts, especially those governing board members that have taken a stance for the health of our children, to proceed to protect them and establish mask mandates. Second piece is that the amendment of ARS Title 38 to change the qualifications for members of civilian review boards, which are composed of civilian appointees who oversee allegations of law enforcement misconduct. The act purports to dictate and fundamentally change who can be a member of such boards and require training that only certified peace officers typically receive. The Tucson Police Department already provides training and technical supports to civilians on the Citizens Police Advisory Review Board and other review boards. The state law is completely unnecessary and intentionally burdensome. And it creates a false sense of division between our officers and the public, when in reality, at the Tucson Police Department, we actively seek community input to improve the outcomes of law enforcement in the public alike. And then 3, the amendment to ARS 41-194.01, also known as SB 1487, to the extent that the scope of SB 1487, which was to allow a single Arizona legislator to ask the Attorney General to investigate not just the actions of a local government body, but also include any written policy, written rule, or written regulation adopted by any agency, department, or other entity of the county, city, or town. The act thus extends state law to other non-legislative areas of the city and threatens the city's right to state shared revenues. The state legislature needs to drop its obsession with micromanaging cities and towns like the city of Tucson and instead focus on the many pressing issues facing our state. So I did want to make sure that I read this into the record because this is what is at stake when it comes to the challenges made by the school districts in the city of Phoenix, and what was included in budget reconciliation that really is unconstitutional. So with that, I will allow further discussion if there is any of my colleagues want to add. If not, let's go to roll call.
Ms. Zulik?
Aye.
Mayor Romero?
Aye.
Mr. Fimbres?
Aye.
Mr. Cunningham?
Aye.
Ms. Santa Cruz?
Aye.
Mr. Kozachi?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all so much, and thank you, Mr. Rankin, for bringing this to our attention.
Thank
Item
you.
5.
I just want to thank the council for letting us put this on this special meeting so quickly. The timelines in these cases are extraordinarily short, and our amicus briefs are going to be due next week. So thank you.
Thank you for bringing it to us. Really appreciate it, Mike. Item 5.
Liquor license applications.
All righty. The city manager's communication number 271 dated September 1st is received into and made part of the record. Mr. Clerk, please read the liquor license agenda.
Yeah, on this evening's liquor license agenda, and also I'd like to thank you for allowing us to put this on. These are liquor licenses, special events that would not be able to be held had we not been able to put this on this meeting. So thank you for that. Under item 5C, we have 4 requests for special events. Staff has indicated that all the applicants are in compliance with city requirements, so an appropriate motion would be to forward items 5C 1 through 4 to the State Liquor Board with a recommendation of approval.
So moved.
So there is a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 6,
Amending Tucson, the 2021 Mayor and Council meeting schedule, ordinance number 11870.
right in front of you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish your thought.
So item 6 is amending the 2021 Mayor and Council meeting schedule, ordinance number 11870.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. City Manager's communication number 270 dated September 1st is received into and made part of the record. Mr. Clerk, you are requested to read ordinance 11870 by number and title only.
Ordinance number 11870 relating to administration, amending the Mayor and Council's 2021 meeting schedule to schedule new regular meetings for Tuesday, September 14th, 2021 and Tuesday, September 28th, 2021, replacing the meetings currently scheduled on September 9th, 2021 and September 21st, 2021 respectively, and declaring an emergency.
What is the council's pleasure?
I move that we pass 11870.
Second.
So there is a motion and a second to pass and adopt ordinance 11870. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to roll call.
Mr. Cunningham?
Aye.
Mr. Fimbres?
Aye.
Ms. Zulik?
Aye.
Mayor Romero?
Aye.
Mr. Kozaczek?
Aye.
Ms. Santa Cruz?
Aye.
Ordinance 11870 passes by a vote of 6-0. Item 7,
Adjournment.
council will stand adjourned. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be on Tuesday, September 14th at 5:30 p.m. Thank you all so much for making time and have a wonderful rest of your week.